Yes, so welcome to the third class. Today we're going to continue from where we stopped last time. We talked about what is web development, talk about what is front end development, talk about the back end development. At the same time, we talk about what we need for the front end development, starting with the tooling and move to the language. Started with our HTML, and we talked about different elements and what you can use to bring all those elements on the screen, which is a tag. So we talked about different tags, like the H1 tag, which is for the heading text, which is what we have on this screen here. So we have the one to generate the paragraph. We talked about the one to generate or to format some of our text, like bold, italics, or underline. I mentioned that we're going to be doing more of this when we get to the CSS part, but you can always use HTML tag to achieve the same thing. So whether you use B or you use strong, you're always going to have this bold text. Apart from that, we talked about linking of pages together, because when you're dealing with a site is just a bunch of pages coming together to form a whole site. So, for example, on this Mailverse site, we have the home page where you see some of the information there. But apart from that, we have the events, we have the about us, and we have about and the contact us. And each one of them have their own content that is going to be displayed to the user. So, and as you can see, what just happened now from the home page, I was able to click on something to take me to the contact page, or I can click on this text and it's going to take me to this about page. So this is how this thing works. So how do you do that? That's where the linking comes in. And in HTML, when you want to connect two pages together, you are going to be using the A tag, which is the anchor tag. So this anchor tag, you need to give it this attributes there, which is this href, and inside the href, that's where you pass the page that you want to connect the user to. And whatever the page you want to connect the user to can be external or it can be internal page. There, for example, like this Google now is external links, so clicking on it, it takes us to Google and we can do whatever we want to do there. That's not the only thing. So you can always link to the pages that is connected to your site. For example, I have this about page, so clicking on it, it will take me to the about page, but it's still part of the site. We have the sign up page too. It is going to display the sign up for this particular page. And again, what I just did with this Google, so clicking on this link, you see that that one is opening in its own tab. So in order for you to be able to do that, you need to use this attribute target with the value of this underscore blank, which is going to make the link to open in another tab. But if you don't use it, whatever the links you click on, they are going to replace the current page that you are viewing at that moment. So if I click on this Facebook now, because this one is not having anything like target, it will replace the content on that page, not that it will open a new tab. Another thing we talked about is the list, which is and we talk about two major type of lists. We have unordered list and we have the ordered list. So for the ordered, it used to use the numbering system, and for the unordered, that one use bullets are there. And in order for you to generate it, we have the UL and we have the OL. So UL for unordered, OL for ordered, and inside it you are going to be generating the list item. And I told you, whatever you're putting inside this LI can be anything you want. And it doesn't need to be text. But right now, we are only using text, but you can always place anything inside it. Another thing we talk about under the list is the nested list, which allows you to put one list inside another list and so forth like that. So it's kind of a useful anywhere you have one item inside another item. Even though I use it here, it might not look like that, but because it has been styled the way I want it to be, so it might look like the way it is currently here, that is listed like this, because you can actually change the style so that to look appropriate the way you want it to be. And as you can see, you can think of it, each one of these box as their own list, and inside the list you have another list inside it there like that. So you can always put one list inside another one. Another thing we talked about is the media, which is under the media we have the image, audio, and video. Because a lot of sites you are going to do with these days, you always have a form of visual representation of what you are trying to pass across to the user there. Even though here we have a lot of text, but if you look at it too, there is some icon that is being displayed on the screen. So you can use image to bring all these icon out, or going to the main page or the site, you see that the image is here. It's quite different. Or under this partner, going down, you see there is logo for the partners there like that. So this is image at work here. So in order for you to display image, we have the img tag, which you need to use this attribute on it. The most important attribute here is the src, which is the source. So the image that you want to display, where is it coming from? And I told you, when you are dealing with linking of resources, you either use external linking or internal linking. So here now we have this external because we are connecting to external site. The linking is coming from another site, which is different from the project we are working on right now. But that's not the only one you can do. You can actually use your internal linking. As you can see this one here, we are not specifying the full address. What we just mentioned here is the name and the extension of the file. So what you are doing here is known as internal linking. But under the internal linking, we have different types. And one of the major type there is same folder linking. So which means the file you want to link to are there, and the file where you are using it, both of them, they are inside the same folder. So if you look at this now, this box model, GIF and the index, you can see the two of them under HTML. For this index.html here, you can use same folder linking to connect to this CSS 001 because they are not inside the same folder. So in order for you to link it, you are going to be using another method here. But when you're dealing with this, we have two other major methods that you can use when you are dealing with your linking. So when you're dealing with linking, we have the same folder. Same folder means just mention the name of the file and followed by the extension. But what if you want to link with something that is outside of that folder? So how do you go outside of the current folder you are working on? Because index.html is inside this folder here. So how do you go outside of this folder? So to go outside of any folder, you are going to be using dot dot slash. So when you use dot dot slash, what you are telling the browser is that you want to leave the current folder you are working on and you want to go to the previous one before it. If you need to go backward 2 times, then you type it 2 times. As you can see now, it means the first one will leave index dot it will leave this HTML folder. The second one will leave this class 8. If I type it again, that one too will leave the one that is preceding that one. So that means that it's now outside of Mailverse like this and so forth like that, depending on your project. So if you want to go back once, you just use slash slash like this. So but what if you want to link into something that is inside another, like that is nested there? So you mention the folder first before the file. So what we want to do here, we want to leave this HTML and we want to enter these images to pick something. So first thing we do is leave HTML, because when you use dot dot slash, it will leave the current folder. Then when you now want to enter another folder, then you have to mention the name of the folder where you want to have access. And as you can see now, it's giving us the content we have there. So the first one here, in order for us to get to these images, we have to leave this folder so that we'll be able to see CSS, HTML, images, and JS. So from there now you can now enter any one of them. So how do you enter a folder? Just mention the name of the folder followed by slash. Then from there, as you can see here now, we have access to whatever file that is there. So this one we call it parent folder because you are leaving current folder you're working on to its parent. So this one will give us class 8, and inside the classes, as you can see, we have access to CSS. You can always go back to HTML, but that's just waste of typing because it just has same thing. You do not type it at all like that. So whether you do it in this way, so this one now, they are going to be the same thing. This first one, if I just do this image, go out, enter HTML, then now type box model like this. This one is waste of typing because it's the same thing as what we have at the top. If they are in the same folder, you don't need to start going outside. You now enter that folder again. Just mention the name of the file. The browser knows that it's supposed to pick it from that current folder where this index is coming from. But if they are not together in the same folder, then you cannot use that. You cannot use this method. You have to use another method. For example, inside this HTML now, maybe I now have these images inside this place. So let me copy this one. So Control C like this, and Control P or Command V like that. So close this one. So this one here, how do we load this one? This Flexbox now. How do we load it? No, they are not. Even though this images is inside HTML, you can't just have access to this Flexbox directly. So anytime you need to enter a folder before you see the file, you have to mention the name of the folder first. So here we can just do these images. Why do I can see I did not go outside? Why? Because these images is already inside that current folder I'm working on. So that's it. So just mention the folder straightforward, and inside the folder you have access to what you want. But for this one, this grid, as you can see, this grid is not even inside this place at all. It's outside of it. So first thing you have to do is to leave that folder first, so that you have access to anything outside of it. Then from there we enter the images, and from there we have access to the grid. Any linking you are going to be doing is to follow these three methods here. Whatever linking you want to be doing when you are dealing with internal, it will always be any one of these. So if they are together, this is what you use. But if they are not together in the same folder and you need to enter a nested folder, you have to mention that folder first. Even if it is three, you keep mentioning until you get to the last one. But since it's just one folder here, that's why I mentioned the one. But you don't need to specify where this image is coming from. It will look for it under the current folder you are working with automatically. Anytime you don't mention the folder or you don't mention where the thing is coming from, it always default to the current folder you are working on. So which means if I do something like this and I did not put that dot slash, what it will think is that these images of capital letter is coming from here. So that's what it's going to think. But once you use dot slash, it means leave the current folder you are working on first, then go to the previous one, the one that is holding that particular folder there like that. So once this thing is saved, and we'll go to the page, you'll see that it's going to load all the necessary stuff. My server is not running. Let me reload the content. So scroll down like that. As you can see, all of them are now showing, but this thing are too big, so we can just reduce the size by just using weight to be 300 like this. So for this one too, the weight is going to be 300. So save, go back there, and we should have a small image on the screen. So this is 300 and this is another 300 like that. And as you can see, this one is no longer by the side because there is no space. But if I reduce the screen like that, or zoom out like that, you see that we have enough, because there is no space. It will always put them side by side because they are inline element. Once there is space, all those inline, they will go side by side. But if there is no space, they will wrap. If they are not going to next line, they are wrapping to next line, because this space now is too small for this one to stay there. So since there is no more space, then it will wrap to the next line until you have enough space. And if you don't have enough space, then it will always be like that. So you can see this one too is wrapping to next line like that. But this one too, if I just give it the weight maybe around that 250 like this, to save, go back to the page. So if there is enough screen, you see that it's now staying side by side with the other content there like that. Apart from that, we talked about the audio, which is what you can use to display the audio player on the screen. So you can see here, the way this thing will display is depending on the operating system you are using. Because I'm using Mac right now, so there's background that used to be here. As mean it's on the window now. You see that there's one gray background there, but because I'm on Mac here, so this one is not showing it. And again, to the way some of these things are displayed is quite different. On window, they are tiny. It's not this big like this. So and if I play, you see that it will start playing the stuff. I can mute the stuff, or just reduce the volume, or even download the stuff, or the playback speed like that. So this is the audio, but you can always create your own by using your own custom HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to emulate what is going on here like that. So always do it That's what some of the sites that do customize player. But behind the scene, this one is still going to be there. It will be hidden, or they will be using JavaScript to communicate with it behind the scene. So we'll build some other element that you click on for play, then it will communicate with this audio to play the sound. This one will always be there, but you create your own UI that will now be communicating with what you have here. But it requires JavaScript and CSS for the styling there. Apart from that, we have the video, just like the audio. And I told you there is one important stuff attribute, or two important attributes here. The first one is the source. The second one is the controls. Without it, all this thing will not show at all. It will not even show anything because there is no control to click on like that. So you always pass the control if you want the stuff to show. The same thing with the video too. You pass the source and you make sure that the control attribute is there, and so that you'll be able to play, pause, and do some other thing you want to do. So once I play now, it will start playing the video like that. But I told you the YouTube video is quite different from this inbuilt video with the browser. I can see the way all this in display is quite different. But YouTube want everything to be the same across operating system or whatever browser you are using. So what you use here, what they are using there is iframe, so that they can load something here. Yes. 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 You can add it too, but which is bad because this thing will start playing automatically, and there is no way
trendybeats.com.
there is no way for them to stop it. But yeah, it will always be there. See, these are the controls. The thing is here, just that you don't have the controls to do pause, play, whatever stuff. The controls attribute must be there before all this stuff will show up. The audio will be there, but there is no control to control the stuff. So it will just working, and because the browser, you must put that control before the browser will display all these things. It doesn't display it out of the box like that. So the same thing with the video. You see your video, but you will not be able to play and do all this other stuff. But if you want to play that one too, the video will just start playing, and there is no way for them to stop it like that. So you can only use it like that when you're using video as background. When you're using it as background, you don't need to put control. So you to just keep playing automatically here. And I think these people, when you go to Shopify or something like, I think they use something like that. If you go to Shopify, I think their landing page has a video at the back. Is this the one? I don't know. Not the which other side? There's one like that before. They used to have. Let me go to this side. I think it's, yeah. So this is the one. See, started playing automatically, and there is nothing like you pausing the stuff. But behind the scene, it's just a video that autoplay automatically, and they style it so that it's at the back and other content at the front of it. That sometimes it's useful, but if you know that the user is not is major thing, and the user that can say that the thing is, there is no is muted, is the sound is not there, so you don't want to distract these things. So you can always mute the stuff by changing this, you can see. So you just mute the stuff like that, but that's not, so you can always use it anywhere you need it. So another thing we talk about is the form, which is way of you getting information from the user, because you'll be able to get information from the user. And how do you get information from the user? We have the form in HTML. So we have the form element, which is one that groups all the form controls together. So when you're submitting your form, it will group all of them together and send them along there. Not that you'll be the one that has to be talking to them one by one, but it's kind of useful to group all your controls together using the form element. And form element is this. It have a lot of other attributes that you can pass into it, but right now we don't need those attributes. The major thing you need right now are the controls that you want to use to collect information from the user. And what are the controls that you can use to collect information from the user? We have the input control, we have the text area control, we have the select controls. Almost all the information you want to collect, 90% of them is always falling under these inputs there like that, because inputs come in different types. It comes with different types of the inputs you want. And this input is a self-closing tag, as you can see here, doesn't accept anything inside it. The way you talk to it is through the attributes that it's giving you there, like that. And one of the major attributes there is this type on your input, which specify the type of the input you are looking for, like that. But again too, we have label, which is what you can use to describe your controls. Because if you just go to the page, like that, so how do you talk to the user that this is a particular details you are trying to collect? For example, now I just put this box here, put this box here. How are they going to know that his name that's supposed to be here, or it is email that is here? So you can always use a label to describe your controls, like that. So you use label to describe your controls. So we use label to describe control. And again, to all these your controls along with the label, they are inline elements. So which means they occupy the space of the content that you have inside them. And that's the reason you have seen that they are side by side. But later on with CSS, we're going to be placing them on top of each other, like that. But for now, it will be in that way. And this label here, you should always connect it to your controls. And how do you connect them together? That's where this attribute comes in, which is known as this for. So this for will always be connected to the ID of the element that you want it to be linked with. So for example, here now, if I click on this name, you see that it is activating the box automatically because they are now connected together. The same thing too, if I click on this one, it will activate it, and if I click on this, it will activate this one. Why? Because the for of the label is always connected to the ID of the controls, like that. And under this input, we have the type. You can see the same input here, but now the type is email. So the browser or on your phone, you see that the virtual keyboard here now, it will change automatically to the one that is meant for inputting email. And as you can see, to the browser is, can see after clicking on this, it brings the suggestion for the email there, like that. So, but this is not the only type of the controls that we have, like that. We have a lot of other controls that you can always work with there, like that, which is under the input. So under input, this type, there's a lot of type under it. As you can see, we have number. So if you want to collect number there, so just use input type of number. So it's going to give us this box where the user can only input number. You cannot input any other thing here. The browser not accept it at all, like that. Again too, we have input type of range. You know, I mentioned in that audio now, I see that slider to change, so you can always use this range customize to have your own this ranging stuff. Even though this one too, the styling of it is depending on the operating system and the browser you are using. So you might not want to use this one and you create your own like this, but you need to make sure that it's working like that one, that this thing can always slide up or slide down. You can do it when you are learning, but in a real sense, when you are working, you use some of the UI library that's been designed down for you that you can quickly incorporate into your project. But when you are learning, you can always do it yourself. But in a real sense, you don't work on it from scratch. There's a lot of people that have worked on it already, and they've tested it in different operating system and different browser, and they make sure that it's working properly. Because if you doing it on your system, by the time you know other people are checking on their system, they will be seeing something else because they are using different browser or they are using different operating system, like that. And the way all these operating system interpret some of these elements quite different, like that. Again, we have password. This one now, when you want to do anything like authentication, like password and so forth, like that, pin that you don't want people to see, you always use this input type of password. So which means here, whatever the user is typing is not going to show like that. So you always use this input type a lot when you're dealing with password or anything that deal with login, sign up, and so forth, like that, credit card or credit code, and so forth, like that. So you always use the stuff. For example, now going to this Facebook. So if you open in a new tab like that, close, go to the password section. As you can see, that's what they are using, like that. This is their label. But you see the way they style it, like that. So the same thing that is going on here that we have here. like this, you see the same thing as what they have here. Different is the CSS that is going on behind the scene there. And once we learn our CSS, we're going to come here to learn how we can design this kind of a user interface like that. Again, we have some of the other one, which is the text area. So the text area is this box here, which allows you to impute content on multiple lines. Now I told you, when you're dealing with your input, you can always put content on one line. Once you press enter, it will go to next control. You cannot put your content on multiple lines. So with input. So which means input is useful when you are collecting short information that needs to be on a single line. If you want to collect information that needs to span multiple lines, then text area is your go-to. So if the content has to go up and down like this, text area is straightforward. And we have the control for that, which is what we have here. But this one is happening, opening and closing like that. It has some of the attributes like your input except type, because it's just one text area we have. There is no different type of text area. It's just one. But you can always give it ID, name, and so forth like that. There is nothing like type. Again, too, there's another attribute you can pass here, which is rows and columns, which determine the weight and the height of the box. But I don't like to use them because I always love to control this from CSS directly like that. And again, we have the button, which is what you can use to submit your form. And by default, I told you, anytime you're using button inside form, even if you don't use type of submit, it will always submit your form, because automatically this form knows that by default this button is going to trigger submission there. So whether you put this type or submit or you don't put it, it's still going to do the same thing. So whether the button is like this or is having type submit, it will always submit your form automatically once it's inside the form here. But if it is outside, so it doesn't know what to do outside. So anytime you have button outside of form, it's just normal button. So when you click it from now till tomorrow, it will not do anything. So if you click on this one from now till tomorrow, if you look at it, the browser will not do anything. But now if I click on this one, as you can see, it triggered the form, because this one is part of the form, and that's why we call it we have it as form element, because it's one that is going to group all your controls together. And once you have all those controls under the form element, they work hand in hand. But if they are not inside form element, they work on their own. They don't know. If I have input here now, there's no way this input will be connected to this button for submission unless you do it yourself through JavaScript there like that. But once you put them under form element, they work together. So this one now, scrolling down to that submit section, if I click on submit from now till tomorrow, not trigger anything on it. But if I click on this one, it will trigger this one because they are together. And the reason this one is telling me to do this is because of this attribute required that I have here. But if I put the require here too, it will not trigger anything because it's not part of the form. So if I click on this, not trigger anything at all. Yes. Yes. But yes. Website. How you can share some topic as in like, and I yes, now this like they like yeah, it's depending on the operating system and the browser you're using too. So you used to show here. Assuming it's Edge that I'm using now. Edge have it out of the box. Edge browser. That stuff out of the box. That you can always click on. But because I'm using Chrome, Chrome doesn't have it. So you have to implement it. Yours. This one is being implemented here. This is image. Then button inside you now have this icon inside. But it has to be connected to JavaScript. Without JavaScript, you cannot do this. But with Edge now, you don't even need to have JavaScript. Have its own automatically there. Let me see if I can get Edge this side. I have Edge already, but I don't think it's on this thing. So I have to bring it in. Coming. So let me see if I can move it into that screen there. So let me move it here. Yeah, so let me open the Edge and let me go into this localhost 5500 like that. We should what did I type? That's not localhost. Localhost 5500 100 ml, like that. So scroll down and enter the box. Can you see? So Edge have it out of the box. It been on the browser. So, and can you see the display of this one now? See that this one is not blue again. It's now, so some of these things, the way it depend on the browser, and that's why you don't use, sometimes you not see people using them, because the way it will display here now, this is how it's displaying on Mac. But when you go to window now, this is not how the drop down is, and so forth. Like, so depending on the browser and the operating system you are using, some of these elements behave in a different way, like that. So it doesn't work the same like that. So let me come back here in this. So it all depend on, but if you want to do it, you always want this thing to work across, not because, oh, you not be telling, it's not like the olden days or like 10 years ago that they'll be telling you you have to use a specific browser before you can visit that site. Before, they'll tell you this thing is only, oh, when you go there, they'll tell you, no, this browser you are using, that's not, go to this browser. It's not like that these days again. You make sure your site works across operating system and the browser, because you lose people when you are telling me to go and be finding one browser. They will just go to your competitor and just go and look for the stuff there like that. It's not like the olden days or in these 10 years ago that they be telling you to go and use one particular browser to see the stuff like that. So that's how this thing works. So we have this, and again we have another type of control that you can always use, which is this select, which allows you to pick from the list of options like that. So this one, you're going to have the select, and inside it you have different options you want to display to the user there. So we talked about this control too, which I don't need to be going over. So I'm going to skip them. And as you can see, I've already listed some of the sample here. So you have the input type of file. So these are some of the other samples. So when you want the user to be able to pick a file now, you always use input type of file. So they will be able to pick. But what I'm picking right now is not showing the way it's supposed to. That will be from you using your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to display the content the way you want. But HTML will only give you the control to pick the file. How the file will be used, that's none of its own work. So it's not depend on you to display it according to the way you want. So you have the range, you have the color. So maybe you want all this, they are inputs. So the input that is generating this, you just need to give it the type of color. Again, this input type of date. This one will give you the date, speaker, input type of time, give you time. We have input type of search too. So as I'm typing, as you can see, it added this thing out of the box automatically. So it's because the type, as you can see them, so we have the type of date, type of time, we have the search. So the search automatically will give you this X to close or to remove anything that you've typed there. And before getting into this table, and table is useful when you want to display information in a tabular form. So when you want to display information in a tabular form, that's where the table comes in. And when you want to use table, we have the table tag there. Then we have the tr, we have the th. But this is not how, this is old way of doing tables, but it will still work now. But you shouldn't be doing your table in this way. So for example, here we want to have a table h2 simple table 2 like that. Don't do this like that. When you want to have a table, you are going to be having table in this way. So table is grouped into three parts. We have the table head, we have the table body, and we have the table footer there. So we have the head section of the table, we have the body. The body is where the actual content is, and we have the footer. But the major one you always use is the head and body. Head and body. Footer is just simple stuff, but it still follow the same pattern. What you'll be putting inside them is still the same, the row. So we have the T head like this. So this T head is what you're going to be using to group all the heading part of your table together. And we have the T body. This is what you're going to be using to group all the body content of the table together. They don't give you any style, they are just grouping. They don't do any styling for you. So we have the T foot, which is what you'll be using to group the footer part of your table together. And when you're talking about it, as you can see, we can think of this one now as the heading part of our table. So all this content here now, they are going to be under the T head. Why all this one are the content for the body, like maybe the content itself. So all this one, they are going to be under the T body. And if you have footer too, then all those one, they are going to be under the T foot. And what are you going to be putting inside your table? You can see each table is going to have rows and columns. So we have your rows and columns. So this is row 1, this is row 2, row 3, row and so forth like that. This is column 1, column 2, and column 3. So how do you generate rows in, because that's what you be generating, rows, then inside the row you now put all the columns. So this is the first row, and inside that row we have this cell, we have this cell, and we have this cell, and all of them together form that rows and the column for that particular rows like that. So how do you generate a row? We have the TR, which is for table rows. Then inside the rows you are going to generate all the cells that you want to put inside it. But we have two types of cells. We have the heading cells. As you can see, all this one they are center automatically, and the text is bold. So that's where the TH comes in. So we have the TH there. So we're using TH, that's the table heading like that. So table heading is different from this T head though. T head is one grouping all of them together. Why TH is the heading itself. So which is the first TH is going to be this, the second one will be this, and the third one is going to be this, depending on the number of heading you want to add there. So once this one is saved now, as you can see, we have name, age, and city. But if you look at it, it's not even showing anything at all. It's not showing the line. But if you look at the other one, they actually have line. So by default in HTML5, there is no line around your table at all. So you have to be the one, you need it. But most of the time when you're dealing with CSS, you don't even need that line because you are going to style it according to your own taste like that. For example, here now, if you go under the co-working space, I'm using table there. But if you look at it, it's not just, as you can see, this is table here. But look at the styling. It's not just like that, but this is still table going on there. But for now, we don't have any CSS, so we should be able to see line around it. So in order for you to see the line, you need to come to the table and you need to give it this border. And the border attribute, you need to give it the thickness of it. So the number inside it is the thickness. One just means it's going to have a tiny line around the stuff like that. So if I use 3, you see that the thickness is going to be bigger than the weight is. But always leave it as 1. By default, the browser turned it to 0. That's the reason why you are not seeing it, because it just set it to 0. But in before HTML5, the line used to be there out of the box. But with HTML5, it's no longer there like that. So you will not see it. So you have to bring it back yourself. But you don't even need the lines. You can see to be giving all the cell to line. Once you use that border, it will be giving all the cell to one by one. And as you can see, all the border they are not close. They are separating from each other. I always do all this thing from CSS to bring them back. But right now we don't need it. We just use this one. So if I want now, I'm done with the head because I only need one row there. If you need multiple row in that head, then you are going to create another TR. But where you are going to be having a lot of rows is inside the body. So here, each row, as you can see, so here, this is going to be our first row. This is going to be the second line. So this one, it will always go there automatically. You have to use the correct tag. So to have a row, you have TR. And inside it, you are going to be using TD or TH, depending on whether you want it to be heading or you want it to be normal cell. So we have the heading cell and we have the normal cell. Heading cell is this, as you can see, the way it is. The name is bold and it's going to be center. Look at it here. It is center. So it is bold and center automatically. But when you are talking about the normal cell, as you can see, they are left aligned. They don't go to the center, except if you want them to be at the center. You use your CSS to do that. But by default, the browser, the styling on the browser, all your heading cell, they are always at the center and they are bold by default, even though you can remove it if you don't need it. As you can see this one too, you see that some of these heading here, they are kind of having the same the interface. So you have CSS to customize it, but this is what the browser is going to do by default. But you have the power to customize it. As you can see, they are centered. They are not just the same. Even though they are cell, they are always at the center too. But by default, all your cell, the normal cell, they're always by the left. So this is how you are going to be working with the table. And if you have the footer too, so you can always do this one like that. But I'm just going to like something is using here, which is what I will be explaining next, like that. As you can see, you have the footer section. You can always put anything there. This one is just grouping. It's not doing any styling. It's not the one that put all those spacing, though. Because of this thing, let me remove it like that. So the T foot, the T body, the T head, they are not doing any styling. As you can see, is whatever you put inside and that is controlling. They are just there to style. So I can style all this header at once with that edge. I can style all this body at once with this T body. For example, here now, that will come back into this one soon, like that, which is going to be this. So for the head, like that. So and for the foot, like this. So save and go back to the page. What did I type? To save, you see that, can you see all of them? The grouping at once, like that. Not that you have to be going inside each cell, be doing the stuff one by one, like that. So they are just there, but through your CSS, you make it look like the way you want it to be, in that the way you want. So you don't do it like this. This, if you do it like it will still work too, but don't do it like that, because when you get to some framework that are straight, they will start complaining when you don't use your T head, T body, and T foot anywhere you need all those things. Start complaining. But normally the browser will not complain, but the tooling you are using complain that you do not arrange the stuff properly, like that. You can see both of them are working, but with this one now, you can't quickly style them. You have to be doing it one by one, in that way, because there is no, you do not group them, and since it's not group, then it will not work. Apart from that, we have the row and column spanning. This is way of you telling the particular cell to take this number of cell that you want there, like that. So when you're calling spanning, you want a particular cell or to take more than one cell. So one particular cell can occupy uh, two or more cells. So that's the spanning. As you can see here, this John Doe and this name, it cover 30 and this 31. But this is what we call the row spanning here, like that. As you can see, it's still under one column, but it's taking two rows, one, two. So this is what we call row spanning. Why this one? I did not put the column sample. All right, okay, I think I did. Yeah, I did. This is it. So as you can see, James Smith here, I have the under name and it cover the age like that. So how do you do that? So just go to the cell you want, either use the row span or use a co-span. But when you're doing it, that column must match you, because here now, if you look at it, how many columns do you have? One, two, three. As you can see, it's the same thing for all of them. For the first row is three, second row is three, and so forth like that. As you can see, the one that is not having three, that's why you see that is now empty, this thing here like that. So that's why you see that we have this empty stuff going on at that place. So if I want this footer now to cover up, so you need to know which type of spanning you are doing. So what are you covering up? As you can see, you want to cover up the column 2, and want it to cover up the column 3. So which means here now, how many things do you want this thing to cover? You want it to start from, this is 1, 2, 3. So that means this thing, it needs to span wherever you put there like that. So if you put 2, that means it will only cover 2 space, like that. So if I come here now under this T, D, not the T arrow, because that one is just generating row. So here now we're going to have the co-span. And if I use 2 like this, so save, go back, as you can see, it will just cover 2 like that. All right, so to cover the 3 now, all we just need to do is just to go back and make it 3, like that. So save, and once you save, as you can see, if you give it more than what is here, it will not do anything. If I give it 6, because since the thing is not up to 6, it will not do anything to stop as the highest one that I have here. But once you add to the column, then it will start, yeah, so it will keep covering the stuff. So but if you give it less, it will cover up to that moment and leave the remaining one. So like this The same thing too for row. Here now you only have one. So if you do row span like this and you give it two, nothing will happen. Because here you only have one row inside that place. Look at it. You only have one row. You only have one row. There is no way you now be saying you want to span two. It's not making sense like that. But if you have maybe like two row like this and you save it and you have some other content there like that, so it's going to, you only see it when there is no other content there. So it will just not do anything. But in order for us to actually see this, so let me see. Yeah, let me do two here, like that. And for this, let's just do TD like that. So let me do this, save and put it there like this. It's going to take this, but where is it? Yeah, because here I did not have up to two. Takes this one like that. How many did I have here? So yeah, it's not complete. Look at it two. For how many do you have? One. Yeah, it's complete now. We have one, two. Then yeah, it's going to the called one, two. You only cover two for the column. The row is what I'm. Yeah, it's not even do the, because this two is here. Let me put it. Let me have a table. Do I have a? Oh, I don't have it on this system. Let me just search for. Let's search for samples so that we just work on it together. Uh Rows and cols span table like this. Let's pick one sample from the images and we'll work on it. So let me take, which one is that? I want something that is not that big, so that we're able to finish time. Well, let me see. Here you have the product. Now I have the name. Yeah, I think this one is okay. So even though you are doing your spanning, your calculation later on must always be equal. Here now, this one is complete. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means here, even though you are going to be using two, by the time you are doing your code and spanning, the calculation, the addition of everything must be up to 5. If it's less, you are going to see some stuff is not covering up, or if it is more, it will cover up, but it will not get to that place. So let's do this one, this table now. So let me just come here. Let me just, oh, this is not where I suppose. Let me scroll down that particular. So all this one. So let me scroll down to the sample. Yeah. So we have H2 class example like this. So class example. So from there we have the table. So in order for us to be able to see what is going on, because if you don't put this border, you will not see, no, those spacing will join together. So you not even see what is going on there. So you need to put this border. So from there, we enter. So what do we have for us? You can see we have the first row, which is our heading like that. So we are going to use our T edge like that. So from the T edge, we are going to have our row. And inside the row, as you can see, we have two. We have products. Or if you look at this one, as you can see, it's just normal text that is there. Or let's just do it in the other way, the simple way first, so that we don't, let's use this normal distance. We have TR, and inside the TR, we have the products, and we have this performance metrics. But if you look at the first one is both, so it can be this. So TH, we have the performance like that. That's what is our products rather. So products like this. Then the second one, which is normal cell. So we have performance metrics. Metrics like this. So that's the first one. So save. But if you save it and go to the page, it will not look nice because it's supposed where it will look like, because other one is not there yet. But let's put the other one before we now start putting all the rows and whatever stuff. So the second one is region all the way to Q4. So that's our second row now. So TR, so we have the TH like that. So we have the region, and we now have the TD, which is Q1 like this. So Q1, so Q2, Q3, and it will not be balanced again now, since this one is not having more than that one. No, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but this one is 2. So some stuff is going to be missing there, like as you can see. So Q1, Q2, whatever stuff. But you look at this performance stuff, it did not. So it's having all these extra space, but we're going to talk to it later on to cover all those remaining. So what do we have next? But look at this one too. So, but this one is crazy. This one is crazy. This one is crazy. The way you do this one, this product X now is only for this line. It's not for this second line. But because it's spanning that row, that's why you are not going to type it twice. You only type it the first time. So anytime you see row on like this, it will go along with the first row. The first row that, so but it will be spanning the other one. That's how it works. So here now we need to have another row. Inside this row we have the TH. That's where we have that product. No, it's not TH, but it's simple this thing. So we have the TD. So we have the product X like that, which is this. But again, as you can see, we have 30,000, 28. I will just use some random value for that. So TD, I will just use 100 like that. So let me use 200, 300, 400, and 500 like that. So save, go back to the page. We should, nah, it's more. It's not a pass. But it's not supposed to pass this Q4 match, yeah, like that. So you stop under Q4. But now, the only thing you are left with on this second one is 95, 92, 98, 94. Don't forget, you already typed this one along with this. So you don't type it again when you get to the next one, because it will be the one, it's still that single one that is going to do that spanning. So here now, another row again. So we're going to have the TR, and from this TR, we're going to have 95, like that, 98, 92, 78 like this. So how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. So save and go back to the page to say that things are not aligned properly. This 95, 98, 92, 78 supposed to go to the end. So what do we need to do? This performance now, we need to tell it to cover up 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to span 4. So we just go there to that our performance metrics. So we are going to have cospan and we'll give it 4 like this. So save. Then once you get, as you can see now, that one join. So again, too, we need to talk to all this one to shift, because this one needs to take off this. We need to talk to this one to come down. Once it come down, it will shift the other one. So, but you know, the type of that one is spanning downward. And when you are spanning downward, what you need to use is the row spanning. So we have this row span. And how many is it taking there? So you need to take 1 and it needs to take 2 like that. So save, and once you do it, then everything becomes together like this. And you can always use it for any kind of spanning. You just need to look at your data there like that and span it according to, like this one, and this subtotal now is spanning 1, 2, 3. The code span here is 3. For this tax, it's spanning 1, 2. And for this total 2, it's spanning 1, 2, 3. That's just the stuff. So you look at it, when it can see it's code, but if it is one that is doing it downward, that's row spanning like that. And that's what you always use, but nothing like that. This one is just normal table. Not because each one of them have their own data and it's not going inside each other there like that. So that's how this will work. And again, we've talked about this grouping element in HTML. So we have the div, the span, the section, the article that you can use. Look at all this here now. They are grouped together, but it looks as if it's not grouped at all. But through the CSS later on, you are going to see everything clearly there like that. So if I come back down here now, and we'll scroll down, so you can see we have the div. Inside the div, we have this header that is grouping all the header parts of the page together. Apart from that, we have this main, which is grouping all the main section together. We have this aside, and we have this footer like that. So when we get to CSS, everything is going to come in. And again, if you look at down here, you see that this one is showing this symbol copyright here. This is what we call entity symbols or code in HTML. So there are some of these symbols you can generate directly in your HTML, and you always see it a lot. Every site use that copyright, as you can see, copyright like that. The same thing too on Mailverse, like that. You see that copyright. See, every site always have this copyright section, and they have this symbol. So you don't go to Google and copy the symbol. The symbol is already there in HTML. But this stuff, so what is not VS Code, it's HTML code. But VS Code have them, it can help you to generate them out of the box. So like that. So this is what we call entity symbols here. So and it's come in different variants that you can use. So we have the entity name. You can see when you're dealing with entity name, you start with this ampersand symbol here. So this amp symbol, then followed by the name of that symbol you are looking for. So it have this ampersand symbol like that. So it have this and. This is and. That and symbol, then followed by the name, then followed by this semicolon. That semicolon is very important, but that's how it's going to know that they are together. We start with this, followed by the name, then follow by this semicolon like that. So if I want to generate arrow now, I can always generate arrow too by just starting with this, and we have the arrow. As you can see, VS Code have a lot of them like that. Just click on the one you are looking for, save, go back to the page. As you can see, to generate that this. But what if you want to generate naira? So you know all those places now, I skip it. I'm just using 100, 98, whatever stuff. No percentage now. It's quite easy to type percentage on your keyboard. Just type it. But you cannot type naira on your keyboard. But you want to display naira, just like the way it is here, like that. You see that all these things, they have naira like that. You can actually copy it from here and type it, but that's waste of time. You can type it directly as HTML code so that you'll be able to style it according to the way you want it like that. So to impute naira, you can't just come here and type naira. There is no name for naira. If you type it like this, you will not see anything. If you go back to up there like that, you see that I just, because if you type anything it doesn't understand, the code that it doesn't understand, everything will come outside the way. It's not true error. It's not like a JavaScript that it will give you error. HTML will just dump everything back to you the way you type it. And the reason it's not working is because not all of them they have name, but all those symbols they have number. All those symbols you want to type, not all of them you can represent with name, but all of them you can always get the number. So each symbols you want to represent or you want to work with, there is a number attached to them. And how do you work with number? So when you're working with their name, you start with this amp symbol, followed by the name, then followed by the semicolon. And once you save it, you see that it's going to display for you, as you can see, copyright. But if it is the name or if it is the number you want to use, you don't just start with the number like that. You have to start with hash, then followed by the number. Because if you just put 60 like this, you think it's name that you're typing. So in order for you to understand it is number you're typing, not the name, then you are going to put the hash before the number. So once you put it down, you understand, and as you can see, it will generate the symbol that is meant for that. For the I think that one is 27, like that. So say if you don't need to put all this in your head at all, you can always get them online. Once you are, what's wrong with this? You can always get them online. They're like that. Uh, seven is it not 27 or 120? So seven, yeah. So if it is in naira now, I think naira is 857 or 8375 or 8 something something. Let's say 58. I don't put it in my head. I was just like get the code and put it like that. So as you can see, I still know the number because, but you don't naira entity symbol, or you can put HTML to be faster in front of it like that. And this thing will load out like that. Can you see? So it will bring the stuff out. But you don't need to start cramming the stuff. This is the code. Just copy it and it will give you the stuff like that. Again, to all these emojis, they have code attached to them. So all these emojis, so I can just go here, emoji, HTML code like this. So go there and you see a lot of them. If you go to this W3 school, you are going to see the code for like all these emojis here now. They have the code for them. So just get the code like this one now. So this is the code. Because I see the number is too long. So you don't cram the number like that. You just go and get it, paste the stuff, save it like that, go to your page like this, and once it's done saving, should have what are you saving? So once it's done saving, should have the stuff on the page. It's still saving, still saving. Once it's done, yeah, as you can see, come outside on the screen. So you can use the entity symbol or code to generate. But all those emoji now they don't have name. So what you always say is number. So all of them have number, but not all of them that have name. Is all those, you know, the time all these things were created that time, all those emojis were not there. So they are not part of the name. But the number is always a number is endless. Like that. So don't give them name. They just give them uh, uh number like that. So get the number, paste it there and follow. So if it is number, hash have to be there. If it is name, then there is no need for hash. There's a lot of them too that have name, but uh all of them always have number attached to them like that. Before we now jump into the CSS, which we are going to be starting from next class now. So next class is going to be introduction to CSS there. So how do you include CSS on a page? I've already created a page already just for us to talk about it. As you can see, these are the stuff we're going to be talking about under CSS like that before we now start doing things with them like that. So we're going to be introducing CSS, but is next week falls into my birthday, so I think our class is going to be Friday. So I don't think I'll be here Wednesday and Thursday. So it's going to be Friday there like that. And yeah, so this is where we were stopping for today. Stop.